Leo Sayer had big hair and even bigger hits. Countless appearances on Countdown confirmed him as an Australian favourite. He found himself, but then lost his cool and most of his money. Leo, welcome to Talking Heads.
Nice to be here, yeah.
You call yourself a wandering minstrel or a troubadour. What do you mean?
Well, I think I'm still wandering around singing for my supper. I think I always loved that kind of tradition of the guy that breezes into town, a bit like the Lone Ranger. And then sort of, when he leaves, they all just say, who was that last man?
Is there anybody out there wanna lend a hand to my one-man band?
When I say Leo Sayer, people say, oh, he lives in Sydney, you know.
I know, they all seem to know that now. Yeah, they got me down.
Well, why did you build that connection with Australia? Well,
It happened from the moment I came here, really. I don't know.
1974.
1974, yeah, May 1974.
And in that tour, you actually outsold the Beatles at Festival Hall in Melbourne.
It seems so. It's probably because they had to go home early.
It's a good story.
Yeah, it's a good story. It's very. I'm very honoured by that. But I, you know, when I actually filled in my papers to come over and be a resident, they actually said to me,
You've hardly been away.
well, they said to me, like, how many times have you visited Australia? Because, you know, you have to do this kind of means test thing. And I said, 47 times. So I'd been, 20 times on tour, but I would find any excuse to come down to Australia. Christmases, a trip up to Darwin,
But you're a global citizen. To take on Australian citizenship is quite a leap.
Yeah, I guess, but there's something in my makeup that makes me want to be an exile.
Perhaps you can throw light on this. It's alleged that Paul Burrell, the bodyguard for Princess Diana,
Yes.
lifted various items from her private suite.
One of them was a Leo Sayer album.
Yes. True or false, as far as
True,
it's
and
alleged.
also Mick Gatto was my bodyguard in Melbourne during the first tour. I did a TV show once with Paul Burrell, and he wasn't actually a bad guy, and he said, you know, the Princess is really a big fan.
Are you better at writing songs or singing songs? What do you love most?
Well, I don't actually physically write any longer, funny enough. I think I counted the other day about 480 unfinished, unrecorded songs. During that time, in that intensive time in the 70s and the early 80s, when my career was really just going ballistic and, you know, I couldn't really sort of have a moment to myself, not a moment to think or take stock. I was just working on natural, and ideas would just flow and come in, and you know, it was an amazing time. So I'm still catching up with myself.
Train, yes, train will take me back again. Well, I remember, you take me back. Come on, take me back.
I like to throw myself on stage and find out what's going to happen. And I've tried to live all my life like that.
I remember, take me back. I've forgotten most of it.
It means that things can be very doolally and very scatterbrained.
Yeah!
Well, I am a Gemini, so I'm bound to be multifaceted. I mean, that's part of it. Well, that's what I do for a living.
Running through my life like a river, like a song. The train keeps pushing me.
I was born in this little town, Shoreham by Sea, in Sussex, on the south coast of England, overlooking the English Channel. I was born Gerard Hugh Sayer, middle child of 3 children. Thomas Edward George Sayer was a very tough customer. He had a very acerbic wit. He'd always have something to say, something acidy, which kind of hurt. And I was very sick as a kid. I just didn't have the strength to be the son that he wanted. And I definitely went within myself. And inside myself, I found I had a lot of gifts. My parents were very, very staunch Catholics. So it was in the church that I really learned how to sing. You'd sing at Mass, you know, Dominus vobiscum et cum spiritu tuo would be the response, and, you know, the Te Deum and all these sung Masses. And then I became a choir singer because Father Dermot McHale was a wonderful priest who taught me to sing. He took me under his wing particularly because he thought I had a very special voice. I used to get beaten up a lot because I was the smallest kid in the school. But school wasn't really all bad because there was one teacher. He was our art teacher, Paul Joy. He thought I had a fair bit of talent. And he was so enthusiastic and he pushed me along. And my dad, of course, this was the worst news he could ever hear in his life, that his son was probably going to be one of those bohemians. And that's what I started to become.
Back to those childhood days.
Yeah.
Life with your dad was never easy.
He, because my brother was very good at maths and because my sister could concentrate at school, and they both went to kind of like off to, grammar schools, and I went to what we called a secondary modern.
You were hopeless at maths. I
was bloody hopeless, yeah. I used to get minus marks in science, for all the test tubes that I'd broken and things like that, And I suffered from dyslexia, but nobody knew it. It wasn't sort of like, it wasn't actually a registered disease in those days.
Did you imagine you'd be a singer?
No, but I just used to love to... I didn't ever think that it would be a profession because, I don't know, but it was just something wonderful to have this talent to actually make sounds. And I used to mimic people as well. I used to take off all the goons, Oh, he's falling in the water. I just used to mimic anybody I heard on TV. I could copy anybody, and I could copy any singer. I used to do Elvis.
Well, being a good mimic would be just a perfect passport at school to be popular.
Yeah, but I was left alone at school. Listen, not a bad thing, because I was left alone to dream. And in my head, I always was able to imagine scenarios. And this became great in later life.
Later on, after art school, you went back home, but you didn't really go home. You didn't tell your parents you were there in the same time.
Well, I had a bit of a breakdown. This is the one part of my life I'm not very proud of. I was employing about 10 artists in a studio. Again, I talked myself into it, or I talked them into it anyway. And they really believed that I was their boss and I was absolutely brilliant and we were going to be fine and all the exhibitions would come in and that job and, yes, that logo and that label. And, I did some nice design work and so did my team, during that time. But suddenly it all dried up. I had no work. I had no way to paint them. I literally, one day, I kind of left the key under the mat. And I just
disappeared.
I just disappeared. I was going to a big crash, and I ended up going home, and I bumped into a few friends, and I thought I can't face my parents. And a mate of mine who used to go to school with me was playing guitar now, and he was on a boat, and I managed to hide there for a year with my mate and playing in bands, grew my hair, became a rock and roll singer in that time. I discovered blues music and rhythm and blues, and it was just this wild, crazy, earthy, passionate expression. Somebody who was crap at school like me could play the blues, could sing the blues, and soon I was kind of like sitting in with bands. And then when I was 22, it kind of correlated into a little bunch of guys called Patches.
I met a man on the central line.
And we went to a contest, and there was a guy there called David Courtney who was holding the audition, and he really liked my singing and said, right, let's write some songs together. And it kind of really opened the door.
Baby, though I chose this lonely life, it seems it's strangling me now.
A lot of the material we wrote, it came from poems when I was a kid. I would write sort of cathartic little pieces, and it seemed to be that there's a character developing, a person, and they were the story of a boy left out. The boy who didn't, as it were.
Everybody knows down Lightbrook Grove you have to leap across the street.
I remember going, yes, that's it. That's who I am. I'm Pierrot.
Oh, I'm a one-man band. Nobody knows or understands. Is there anybody out there wanna lend a hand to my one-man band?
Being Pierrot was fantastic because nobody knew what I looked like. I was a geisha. And it would give me confidence. Everybody looked at me like eyes open, wide open, mouths ajar. And it was fantastic having an effect.
Oh, I'm a one-man band. Oh, I'm a one-man band.
Pierrot came along at quite a transitional period of your life, really, going from Gerard to Leo.
Well, the Pierrot came when I was at art school, and I absolutely fell hook, line and sinker for this character played by an actor called Jean-Louis Barrault. So I thought that Pierrot might be the link of the way that I could tell the stories of this kind of, I don't know, Little Prince type of character. You know, this dream figure from my youth in the songs and the things I was saying in these songs, and the me that I was now. He could maybe be the bridge, and behind that mask I could get confident, I could learn how to be me, I could learn my tricks of my trade, I could learn skills because I had a great manager now, Adam Faith, who was telling me, you drop the jacket in the third number. If you do it in a second, it's all over. You know, the parameters that Adam had were so exact. You know, there was, you stand on that mark, I've made an X on the stage, don't move from there.
This becomes the team sayer.
This becomes the team, yeah. Adam Faith and David Courtney used to work with Adam Faith. He was his drummer.
And it was David who came up with the idea of Leo.
Yeah, well, I had this massive head of hair.
Strange, yes.
Yeah, always had that.
A bit like that now.
Well, it's, you know, I figure if it ain't broke, why fix it? You know, I mean, I didn't want to go into my life as Jerry Sayer, the harmonica player, who happens to sing. So it was, you know, so I said to Dave, I want another name. I want, you know, call me, you know, Underpants T. McLuhan or Buzz Frauke, you know, so Ramrod Huckster. Well, no, and he just said, you know, you were just like this caged lion. He said, but you were in your own cage. He said, it's as if you were holding yourself in. So he said, I thought Leo instantly. And still, you know, all my credit cards, my passport, everything is Gerard Sayer, my checkbook.
I was traveling down the road, feeling hungry and cold. I saw a sign saying food and drinks for everyone.
Going through the mask of Pierrot and then exposing myself out of that, growing of confidence, and I became a different person. I actually had some shtick as an entertainer. I was cool. I was hip.
I can dance. I really hit the floor.
I became more appealing. The word approachable was all around me. All of this kind of affability really took me very easily into America. I was able to almost live a dual life at that time because with this kind of safety veneer, I could actually hang out with all my rock and roll chums and be absolutely outrageous and, you know, hang out with the Stones and Keith Richards and be very naughty in the background.
You make me feel like dancing. I wanna dance my life away.
In the middle of all of this, you know, we were making an album, the first album we made, Endless Flight, with You Make Me Feel Like Dancing and When I Need You on it. It was all terribly exciting, but it started to run away in a way. I never planned and plotted a career. I just said yes to everything. I was available for weddings, funerals, bar mitzvahs. I'd do anything. And a lot of it would not be career-enhancing stuff. Captain and Tennille show, you know, children's TV, adult entertainment. I was everywhere. I suddenly didn't recognise the person on the record cover. He'd become a product.
How good was success?
Success was good. Success was lovely. I mean, there were great moments. I mean, mostly in America, really, because...
Did it surprise you?
Yeah. Elton John used to pop round for a cup of tea. Rod Stewart used to come round because my wife, he loved Janice's tea, so he'd have long chats with Janice. The Pierrot had been, thrown aside. The innocent boy had been, thrown aside. Suddenly I was Mr. Style. Movie stars wanted to date me, you know. It was suddenly I was, you know, it was a weird world.
You met and married Janice at quite a young age.
Well, it was actually just before the career really started. We'd already kind of, you know, already made Most of the album, anyway, most of the first album, Silverbird. I think the problem was, in a way, if there is a problem with it, and there was a problem for Janis, is that she married Gerard Sayer. She didn't marry Leo Sayer, and
well, Gerard wanted to be married. Didn't he?
He really did. He
There was
wanted to
something
settle
very
down, have
important about
kids
this.
and everything. Yeah. And as time went on, and as necessary demands of, the job take over, there was more Leo around and less Gerard. So there was less for her to relate to.
Have you ever been in love?
That's that funny little turn that you get of ego when a career first starts out. It's very hard to handle. You end up on a street corner, stamping your foot and screaming because the limo's not pink when you ordered one, There's a certain amount of kind of instant petulance comes out of the packet, just add water and get ego. And eventually, we both agreed it was just better to split up and go different ways. And never seen her since. But that's cool. That was me. What's that song by Sting? If you love someone, set them free. And that's what you got to do.
Moonlighting, they're leaving everything. Moonlighting.
And this industry is going through a big change too. You styled,
yeah.
You say that in the 60s and 70s,
Yes.
it was about people that loved making music. Sometime later, it became about making money.
It started to become a machine because, the lovely thing was at the start of the career, you'd come in with a record and you'd come in with a new, unique song and they go, what's that? We must release it. And then you'd kind of come in with those kind of same ideas, a few years later, and they'd say, no, it's not. That's not what they're buying now. We've actually done a little. We've done a focus group, and it's sorry, it's not. Do you know your peer group, Leo?
That sounds profoundly depressing if you realise that.
Well, it is, but
but
then again, I was only sharing the same depression with people like David Bowie and the Beatles, John Lennon, and all those people.
And do you feel like you sold out?
Well, we all had to, or else they wouldn't bloody release the stuff.
Oh, my love, my darling, I've hungered for your touch.
I sometimes think of my career as a bit like a graph on a hospital bed, or like a mountain range in Switzerland. There have been some ups and downs. As we went into the late 80s, I think I became very unfashionable. Music changed, punk changed a lot of things, changed a lot of the rules and the requisites for what we called a star. I wasn't very good at spitting. Being happy and being bright and feeling the passion of love, people didn't think I had much to say. I think I've always been very trusting as an artist. I couldn't count. Numbers kind of actually gave me the heebie-jeebies. So from accountants to managers, I got ripped off so many times. I made some people very, very rich. I was very good at that. That's always been the problem. When I met Donatella, I not only met this gorgeous woman, but I also met the person that was going to sort out my financial woes. And she became the boss. She became the manager. And she went and sorted out loads of deals for me, and suddenly we were earning money again. Okay, here we go. Fingers crossed. I choked on a boogie down crash. I can't feel it anymore. I can't feel it anymore. It's all coming flooding back. Opportunities kind of suddenly started to open up. And I made an album that became Voice in My Head. One of the big songs on Voice in My Head was Pop Life, and it's kind of like it's a description of everything that I've done, really.
I used to play the clown, making headlights in this town. I was living a pop life, Everybody stared at the makeup that I wear. I was living a pop life.
The main thing was it was a fantastic, cathartic kind of exercise that was me proving to myself, I'm back, I'm a contender.
Like everyone else, you're hot, you're cold, you're up, you're down. So how does this affect you at the personal level?
We can fail in lots of things in life. Oh God, getting philosophical now, but we can fail in romance. We can never find the dream person, you know, that we think that we're going to find. We can fail in how we kind of control our lives, but we can never undo what we learn. It's a bit like that, what was the Pete Townsend song, Hope I Die Before I Get Old. Rubbish, Pete. Well, he knows that now. I challenged him about it and he said, yeah, I wish I'd never written it. It's rubbish, isn't it? We only get better. Eric Clapton is a better guitarist now than he ever was.
Did you bring wisdom to your relationship with Donatella? Tell us how that's evolved.
I suppose I was in a time in my life when I was kind of getting slightly uncomfortable about, you know, who am I and where does it go from here? I absorbed and took on and inherited, shared, stole almost her determination, Tuscan resilience, you know, this wonderful, deep-bred kind of pride. Pride, darling. Nothing stands in their way.
Well, how do you negotiate the relationship being one thing, evolving into another, then changing again?
Well, we're kind of, I wouldn't say that we're in a kind of the same relationship now. We're like brother and sister. We adore each other, you know, and we live for each other and we support each other.
This is hard to pull off.
It is hard to pull off, but it's something, maybe that's the weirdness of the world that I'm in, that you do find very unusual relationships and they do happen. It's like what Peter Sellers said about Britt Eklund. She became my friend. And in the end, you know, I loved the friend more than the lover.
Hi, and welcome to Countdown! Here's Leo Sayer on Countdown's 100th birthday show.
Love, I hold out my hands and I touch love.
I appeared so many times on Countdown, and this crazy, loony, you know, almost amateur presenter, Molly Meldrum, who was just like, the enthusiasm was mad.
Now, Elton, I mean...
It's me here somewhere, I think.
Take
glasses
them
are
off,
wonderful.
For goodness sake.
It's a big part of my popularity in Australia, Countdown. I'd always wanted to be here anyway. I mean, right from the start, it had been a dream. The lovely thing was Australia wanted me. Oh, it was just like, it was one of the most beautiful days of my life. Ironically, spending my time in front of so many people and you know, always being in the public eye and doing shows, and I actually like to get away, and I think my meditation is to get free of everybody and go out with a camera and discover things. You know, I become Gerard Sayer at that moment, you know, right back to the start. And Leo is that side of me that, yeah, does what I do extremely well. But I think the core of it is that he'll never take me over because I'm Gerard too. So, you know, he's my safety valve.
As you grew up, times were tough with your dad. What would you have made of all of this?
Well, when my dad died, I was in Australia and we were opening the Alice Springs Casino. My brother called, and then I think my sister called and said, oh, look, how long could he may not last a week, you know, the same thing. And then my mum called and said, look, he'll speak to you himself. And, you know, it's all, I was thinking, geez, I've got to get on a plane, I've got to get out of here. And my dad said to me, whatever you do, don't come home. Just like, sorry, I always get emotional when I think about this, but he just said, I love what you're doing, I'm proud of you. And it was a moment of great pride, you know, for him, that I was there doing something, and I was the leader of the family, he said. And whatever they tell you, this is me, my brother and my sister, don't listen to them, don't come home. And he died about 30 minutes later.
Thank goodness he made that call.
That made everything worth it. Every single little mess up or mistake or circumstance, act of fate, missed opportunity has led to this.
You live in Sydney, of course,
Yeah.
but you've said that you could live outside Katherine. in the Northern Territory, or
Yeah,
on an island somewhere, because
Look,
you've
I've got a little secret plan. I don't know if I'll do it, but I'm going to retire. When I'm finally...
When you're 90.
When I'm 90 and I finally can't move any longer, I'll move to, I think, just outside Alice Springs.
And you're working on a novel.
Well, it's been going on a little while now.
It's all right. Novels can take decades
They
to write.
can. But I'm writing an epic. It's not just any old quick book. It's the actual saga of a person that I suppose in some ways I'd love to be, but it's also it's an outlet for my humour as well, because I'm a very funny guy. I sometimes lie in bed before going to sleep just laughing. And, I can't get to sleep because some idea hits me and it's just hilarious. I think life is very funny, and I quite like the expression of humour. I think humour is the one thing at the end of the day that can save the world. It's the greatest gift it's bigger than love, actually. To laugh is greater than to be in love.
Yeah, it's been great talking to you. Thanks for coming on Talking
Thanks,
Heads.
mate.